Zoom back in for the final game here in week 5. Before we start, like we've been doing here, let us know who you got. Even tell us why. Between Oregon at Penn State, number 4 versus number 3. Ducks, Nittany Lions, Lanning, Franklin. Once again, we have a Big Ten championship rematch here in Happy Valley. Both teams come into this contest undefeated, with Penn State being the favorites by -3.5 points. The last time, again, these two met in 2024 for that Big Ten title in Indianapolis. The Ducks won 45-37. A lot of players missing from both sides of the ball on either sideline from that 2024 matchup. A lot of them moving on to the NFL, but both of them here in Eugene and Happy Valley have reloaded. Dan Lanning last week won the Civil War against Oregon State 41-7. The week before that, they played Northwestern in their first conference game, so they're 1-0 in Big Ten play, 34-14. And then the week before that, they give a nice clap back on the cheeks beating to Oklahoma State 69-3. And we'll talk about them pokes later on here on the stream. James Franklin last week had a nice bye to help prepare him for this massive matchup against the Ducks. We've been waiting for this one all off season, as we think it's one of the top games in conference play going into 2025. 52-6 victory over Villanova the week before that bye. 34-0 against FIU, and then 46-11 against Nevada. But the question is Penn State's run defense ready for the Ducks' running game? As Penn State going into this game are ranked 32nd in run defense with allowing 109.5 yards per game. They'll be coming up against Oregon's number 9 run offense. The Ducks are averaging 256 yards just on the ground. This is just one of the best offenses that we're going to be seeing here in the country. There's no doubt about it. They might even be number 1, not in all the stats, but combined, just a scary opponent you do not want to be facing whatsoever. The Ducks also have over 1,000 yards, again, combined just on the ground. They just have a treasure chest of running backs. And we'll actually talk about one of those guys in the injury section. But again, the question, will the run defense of the Nittany Lions be ready for the Ducks on the ground? We'll see if that is answered this upcoming weekend. But you guys, Dante Moore, who we're seeing here on the screen, he's now my new Heisman favorite. I have switched it to this young man officially, at least here on the channel, as I think in this game he's going to prove me right. He is so efficient. He is number 5 in the country with a passer rating of 195.9. And then for QPR rating, he is averaging 83.7. That's well above average of 50. 74.7 pass completion rate. That is some disgusting stuff. And just like Garrett Nussmeier has 962 yards passing. That is just hilarious. Obviously averaging 240.5 per game through the air. And then on top of that, he has another top 10 stat he's in going for week 5. 11 passing touchdowns. That's number 6 in the country out of all quarterbacks. He's only been sacked 1 time. Again, he has a top 25 offensive line here at Your Sports Outpost protecting him. And then he's only thrown 1 interception That was against Northwestern, which I believe either stalled one of their drives or allowed that one of 2 touchdowns when they come up against the Wildcats. 14 carries for 87 yards and then 6.2 per carry. If you can get around 500 yards by the end of the season, obviously having a ton of more there through the air, he will not only be a Heisman finalist, but he maybe even win it and be the second Oregon Duck to hoist that prestigious trophy. He will be going up against the number 8 pass defense in the Nittany Lions. Penn State averaging 137 through the air with whoever they come up against. But it's not much of a stat when it's just against, again, Villanova, FIU, and Nevada. Their combined overall record, probably not that good. I didn't even look it up. I know it's definitely under 500 or well below 500. But again, we just have to mention that. Another thing to mention, I think Drew Allar isn't a good quarterback here in 2025. We talked about Dante Moore's passer rating. Well, Drew Allar is 75th in the country, and that's even below Caden Salter. I think is the starting quarterback for Colorado at the moment. Maybe Coach Prime changes it all of a sudden going into this upcoming weekend. But anyways, 137.3. That's well below average. You want to be well over 150 to be considered a good, efficient quarterback. And then his QPR, 38.8. Another one below average. You want to be well above 50 to be a good QB1. 64.8 completion percentage. 626 yards through the air with only 5 passing touchdowns. I guess a decent stat. He's only been sacked 3 times. But it's a little bit of a head scratcher because of the, again, quality of opponents that he's come up against. Villanova, FIU, Nevada. You would expect Drew Allar to be playing out of his mind. But it doesn't look like that is the case here, as he'll be coming up against the number 2 pass defense. Yes, the Oregon Ducks, not even giving up an average in the triple digits. That's 94 yards per game allowed. That is going to be a crazy stat if they hold it up in shutting down Drew Allar, who you would have thought going into year 3 as the starting quarterback for Penn State, force Bull Pripola, the current starting quarterback over at Mizzou, to leave Happy Valley. Looks like maybe James Franklin might have made a wrong decision there. Anyways, that's just another thing we want to mention, how poorly Drew Allar has been here in 2025. Hopefully he comes correct against the Oregon Ducks, the number 2 pass defense. This game comes down to the Ducks forcing Penn State into 3rd and long scenarios and seeing if the Nittany Lions can overcome, which they haven't been so good so far this year. And maybe that's also why Allar hasn't been as good of a quarterback I guess we expected him to be. They're 88th in the country on 3rd down conversion percentage. That's at 36%. So that's not including, 3rd and longs, which are probably even worse in. But that's a stat that the Ducks have to be looking at and keying in on, and making Penn State try a lot of 3rd and longs, because they're not very good on that down. Penn State's running offense is 45th in the country. Maybe that's why they're doing not so good on 1st and 2nd down to not make it 3rd and doable. But they are averaging 172 yards. I thought that would have been a lot more, especially with Allen and Singleton there in the backfield. Those 2 guys had over 1,000 yards each in 2024. They'll be coming up against the Ducks run defense that's ranked 49th in the country, averaging 129.7 per game, again allowed against the Oregon Ducks. So pretty even there in those stats. In terms of rankings, yards wise, it might be the in between. I would maybe give Penn State 150 yards. That's me kind of being generous. If that happens, the Nittany Lions are definitely losing there at home. Injuries. We talked about a running back we wanted to mention, and that's Noah Whittington. He's questionable with an undisclosed injury. But again, the Oregon Ducks have a treasure chest there in the backfield. Just this low, questionable wide receiver going into this undisclosed injury. And then obviously we know about Evan Stewart. He is out for the whole season. And then cornerback, true freshman Trey McNutt. He's going to be out with a leg injury. Not that he's a starter, but you lose a little bit of depth if you needed to make a sub there in the secondary. For Penn State, they only have one guy of note to mention, defensive end Malachi Williams. You're going to be losing some depth there. Again, in the defensive front, he's questionable with an undisclosed injury. Our pick. We're going Ducks. We know they're not favored. We understand that because they're not playing at home. But we do believe they will be getting the job done. Penn State's minus 3.5 favorites. We think the Ducks are going to win by a 9-point difference. Somewhat similar to that 45-37 win over their upcoming opponents last year in Indianapolis. The run game, we just think the Ducks are just going to be better in the run, which sets up the Dante Moore to Dakarian Moore connection. The true freshman out of Duncanville, Texas, Dakarian Moore has 12 receptions, 207 yards receiving, and is averaging 17.3 yards per reception. Top 100, 89th in the country with that. And that's pretty decent for the limited amount of touches as well. When you kind of think about it, he's kind of making an impact on big plays. We think the true freshman Moore will have a little bit of a Tez Johnson feel to him going into this game. And then so far has a reception for the longest being 65 yards with 2 receiving touchdowns. In our offseason preview of this game, we talked about Kenyon Shadiq or Noah Whittington. We think, though, or we at least thought one of those two guys would have been the Tez Johnson in this matchup. But it looks like it's going to be more to more and being the difference of why the Ducks win big on the road. And then finally kind of set the stage later on down the year. Maybe these two have a rematch, because Penn State has a chance to obviously redeem themselves in beating Ohio State maybe later down the line. That will be a very tough hill to climb. Maybe a mountain is a better way to describe that. Like Mount Everest. Maybe that's an even more accurate mountain of what that would be. But they definitely will have room again to grow. Oregon, this is kind of their big toughie on their 2025 schedule. So getting the win here, they will have a really clear path to getting back and defending their Big Ten title later this season. And again, we're going Ducks. And if you are a Duck or Penn State fan, hit that thumbs up button. Let us know if these are the teams we should be talking more about. And also, don't forget who you got, and maybe even tell us why. As we zoom out.